The Scott and Steve Show on Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio. Scott and Steve.
Hey, good morning. Are we live today here?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Hey, good morning. I don't hear anything in the speakers. We are live here. There we go. We're live here with a world famous Scott and Steve show. We are minus Steve at the moment, but we have trusty Jeremiah here as well as always. So Jeremiah, how you doing today?
I feel it.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably from earlier when I was going and vacuuming the office. I probably tapped that wire.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, we appreciate your help as always, getting things operational here. So there's a lot going on, you know what I mean, in world sports, a lot going on here at Lakeland. So if we can, let's touch on Lakeland real quick. The women's and men's team both continue to win. The women are still ranked 14th in the country right now. The men are receiving votes. They both play at Cuyahoga tonight. The women play at 5:30 at Tri-C East. The men play at 6:30 at Tri-C Metro. So those of you looking to go out and check them out, that is where the games are at, different places. And then their final home game of the season is this weekend. On Saturday, they play host to Sinclair Community College. Tentatively, right now, the games are scheduled at 1 and 3. There is a chance that those game times may be adjusted and or flipped. That won't be determined actually until tomorrow. So if that happens, I'll try to put a message out. I'll remember to notify you as well.
I might be here up on campus, but I might not be able to get from there to over there, depending what time it is.
Well, it wouldn't be if we adjust it. It might be like a half hour or something like that. It won't be anything crazy from that aspect. We're not going like 2 hours early or anything like that. It'll be a slight adjustment. And again, depending on how things shake out, we might flip the men's and women's. We are anticipating the possibility of one of the teams or maybe both the teams getting the opportunity to celebrate a conference championship on Saturday. And so with that, we need to be respectful of the times that it takes to do that, you know, cut a net down, et cetera. And so if we go through that process, we got to build that in. So
fair enough.
So
yeah.
and be respectful to Sinclair, the visitors. So we're trying to figure out the best way to do that. And again, after tonight, we will know a little bit more as far as the possibilities, and we'll just go from there. So I want to wish both teams luck tonight. Go out there, do well, kick some Tri-C tail, and come home with some winners, and life will be good from that.
Especially because the women's are 22-1.
22-1 right now. Yeah, the women. You know, you never want to say nothing's definite. You know, you got to play. You got to win it. The women, though, are in a position where if they win tonight and if they win Saturday, then they will be guaranteed at least to share the conference championships. They would be conference champions at that point. The men, also, if they win tonight and win Saturday, they would be in a similar boat where they would be guaranteed it. However, if they are not successful tonight, then it gets to be a whole world of, all right, this, that, and the other thing could happen. And so we'll see at that point. So we'll see.
It.
So hopefully they both get it done. And that's why I say, so if unfortunately, if the men lose tonight, which I don't think they will, but if that were to happen, then we've considered flipping the men and women's game. That way the women could have their celebration afterwards. We don't have to worry about time or anything at that point. It's you can be there done. Sinclair can leave, and we don't have to worry about it. But if they're both in that position, then we'll keep them as is. We might start the women's game about a half hour earlier in that situation, so that way they can have a celebration, and we're keeping the games still on schedule for the end of the evening, so that way people are still getting out of here. Because, you know, Sinclair's a good 4+ hour trip back. We're trying to be respectful of that as well.
Fair enough.
So there's some variables to it that we're looking at, and it unfortunately is going to be a last-minute decision based on that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I won't be there this weekend. So, we have the opportunity to see something and celebrate, but I will be out of town this weekend. My daughter's last regular season weekend of her career. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna
that's sort of memorable.
Yeah, so I'm going to be heading out to the Philly area to watch her play.
You just got to con people here to take pictures.
Yeah, that's it. Hopefully, I'm very confident our staff will be able to handle it, and we'll have our shot clocks and clocks working okay. And
Fair enough.
It'll all go well. But there also will be, for your information, there will be before the men's game, there'll be a brief presentation to the men's basketball coach, Jeff Price, as he also hit his 300th victory this year. So we're going to, we've known Jeff a long time. The college, our basketball coach, myself, we're all, friends. And so we're going to give him a little brief presentation there as well. 1 to 2 minutes, knock it out and play. So that Jeff does not know this. So this is hopefully he's not listening and trying to tap into our program this morning. But if he is, Jeff, we just blew it, and we'll see and be prepared for it and go from there. But anyway, so that
depending if he has a day job, he might luck out that he's.
Well, he does
listening.
have a day job. He's actually the AD at Sinclair, so he knows I do this though. So he may be listening. I'm not sure. So Jeff, you are, call in. How about that? Or text in, or call in, or email, or whatever, and we can chat about it from that aspect and go from there. But so this weekend, plan on 1 and 3. It might be 12:30 and 3, somewhere in that neighborhood, and we'll be playing and hopefully bringing home at least 1, if not 2, conference championships this weekend, which would be great. That'd be really, really great. I'd have to go back through history. I don't know if we've ever won both men's and women's in the same season before. I don't know all the history on that. I have to do a little research, but I don't know if that's ever happened where Lakeland has won them both. So that would be a pretty cool trick if we were able to pull that off.
Yeah, you're going, through 52 years of that? That's kind of hard to know off the top of your head.
Well, a lot of it we have the records of a lot of it. It's just I've got to do the research. You know what I mean?
I know.
I haven't had that opportunity.
That's something that's not, sitting right there that the answer
top
could
of
be.
my head.
Yeah,
but
I feel it.
But we'll figure it out and go. But I'm fairly certain it's the first time if that were to happen. But I'm not 100%. But hey, we still got to get through. We still got some games to play and got to take care of it. Now, what would be really unique, which I know has never happened, is I know that we've never had both teams qualify for nationals in the same season. That things got to go your way. You know what I mean? Yeah. You got to still stay healthy. You got to play well. You got to hit the shots when it counts. You got to get some breaks. But if you're able to do that, I mean, there's a chance that both teams could qualify. I could see both teams making out, but I could also see both teams getting beat. I mean, it can happen. So we'll see. We wish both the men and the women's basketball programs luck, and again, stay healthy and play well, and hopefully it'll take care of themselves and that'll happen. So good stuff's on the horizon. Good stuff's on the horizon. So Lakers, go get them tonight and this weekend. That's right. Knock on that wood there.
Can't help that since that is one.
That's right. So, how's everything going with you? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Anything exciting going on in your world that we need to bring out?
Big sale on that we're doing today and tomorrow.
That's right. So the proceeds of that obviously would benefit the station, right? So where do those proceeds go from your perspective? What is the money spent on, or how does that work?
It goes in between equipment, occasionally different things for either people up here. Then, like the best example is probably many people sort of seeing the guitar, picks to the keychain things to the chapstick. If you stop past during a few of the fairs, either fall last year, really the chapsticks more this semester.
Sure.
That people are getting stuff
just
for
some
free
giveaways. So it allows
you
to sponsor and give some giveaways, which to promote people and to give some students some hopefully some neat things that they'll use. So from that perspective or like.
Everyone loves the bottle openers, guitar-shaped bottle openers.
That's definitely a cool thing. So So come down. It's today and tomorrow, and buy some good stuff there. Now I know you've got stuff separated for peanut allergies and all that kind of stuff out. So I mean, do you want to talk to that?
We had to have that,
right? So
because it's almost just like breakers and that you sort of Especially the other thing of a health inspector can walk through and they could close you down if you don't go and have that listed out for people.
Correct.
So
Correct. So if you have that, they could take care of you. And what times is that going on today?
10 to 1.
10 to 1 today. So right after this show, today, check out, come down to the atrium and support the radio station, support students, and have fun. So that's a really neat thing. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
That's a really good fit. So we're talking a little bit before. We're going to talk a little bit of Tribe baseball, I guess. We're looking at as spring training has begun. It is officially spring, and in baseball, there's a whole lot of stuff. Before we get into the bad stuff, let's talk something. Well, I don't know if talking Tribe is real positive at this point, but let's talk Tribe here. I mean, Frankie Lindor seems to be the continuing story. Is will he resign? Will they not? Now, rumor has it that he's willing to stay if they'll give him a 10, 12-year deal and shell out the bucks for it. A little bit of a discount perhaps as well, signing now. But on the same aspect, that's a heck of a commitment, one that the Tribe historically have not taken a part of. But I mean, is Frank Lindor, is he the guy? Is he the one that you invest the next 10, 12 years into for that kind of money? I mean, do you foresee the Tribe taking that stance, or what do you envision?
60-40 on that.
60-40 in which way?
In a way that they might do it, because he came up through the farm. He came from the captains all the ways up, and that, not including it's not that many big names and that many people, especially when you're trying to market it to around here and that. You sort of have to have that figure face.
Right.
Like, Sizemore. He's young enough that it sort of makes sense in a way-ish.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got to think, then the other thing of devil's advocate or the two-sided sword of those end years and all that stuff.
Sure. I mean, he plays a high-demand position. I mean, so the risk for injury is certainly there. Now, I would say even looking at him offensively, I didn't think last year offensively he was what he was the year previous. You know what I mean? Not that, and he still had a good year.
Stack of a lineup.
Right. He still had a good year. I'm not suggesting he didn't, but you're talking about paying max dollars for somebody. You got to be a max player in that situation, and I think he can be. I don't think he can be for 12 years. And to your point, that's kind of the rub the wrist there. I mean, if you're going to go in, you got to go in. I do think though that they could structure the contract giving a player the opt out, in year 4, year 5, and stuff like that. You give him, so if the market changes and becomes more value, he could get more money. It would give him the opportunity to opt out at that point. I think that's almost a given with any long-term contract. It'll be interesting to see if the Indians can build in something where they have the ability to opt out. Typically, that doesn't happen without a significant buyout. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes, though. I do think the Indians will offer a contract. I don't know if it'll be enough. You know what I mean? I think a part of it depends on how much of a discount's he really willing to take, and go from there. Because as much as he's a great player, he's not the best player in the game statistically. You know what I mean? So to think that he's going to outdo Bryce Harper, or not Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, to think that he's along those lines, I think would be foolish on the Indians' part to go that part. And if that's, and I'm not saying they are, I don't know what his demands are, but if his demands were to approach that, then I don't think the Indians have a choice at that point but to say, you know what, that's not for us, and you're out. So it's a give and take. Both sides got to be willing to work together. But it'll be interesting. So you think 60-40 he'll return is what I think I hear you saying. Yeah, I think right now, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to lay out by percentage wise, and that's probably the easy way out. I just don't think there's enough known information yet. Meaning, does he really want to be here? You know what I mean? And is he in saying that? That means, is he willing to play for whatever the Indians are willing to offer? It's not a matter of liking Cleveland. It's, am I willing to take it?
Said it in the meet, but then it's not the first time players say that in the
Well,
media.
for
then
sure.
change behind the doors.
Of course, they're going to say, "Hey, I want to be here," and yeah, I'll give them a little bit of break. Of course, they're going to say that. But what is that break? You know what I mean?
know.
I mean, if I can make $300 million over 10 years, when someone's going to give me $330 million, that's $30 million. Is that significant? I don't know. I mean, from you and I looking in, I mean, we could say, well, shoot, you already got 300. I can live on 300. I don't have to worry about that extra 30. But if you're setting up for the other, I don't know if I would be saying, 30 million, don't worry about it either. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how far he's willing to go. And frankly, the Indians, I mean, they're going to have to get a gauge on this fairly soon. You know, I mean, in my eyes,
Wow.
I mean, within the next couple months, they're going to need to get a gauge on it, because if they're going to move them, they're going to have to move them. In my eyes, they will have to move them this year, especially if they're not in contention early on, then they're going to have to make that move, you know. But it's not easy. It's not easy to do that. I mean, look at the Red Sox right now. They traded Mookie Betts. You know, one of the most popular players on the Sox. You know, is certainly I would say offensively and defensively. Well, offensively, I would say he's more valuable than Lindor, statistically at least speaking. And I think defensively, I think they're both at an elite position, you know, an elite player for their position. So I think that you could get more for Betts in that situation. But honestly, I mean, Boston trimmed salary, man. They didn't get.
Yeah.
They didn't get. I mean, they got Verdugo, you know, who's injured right now. They got a long-term catching prospect and a reliever, you know, and that, you know, now they trim salary, which is one of their goals as well. But I got to believe if the Indians are doing this, they're also looking at trimming salary. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. You know, the flip of it is, if you don't trade him, what are you going to get? You're going to get a draft pick, and that's it. You know, I mean, that's not enough. You know, so
No.
They're going to have to make this
Especially
decision soon.
in Major League Baseball, draft
Right.
picks aren't.
Doesn't matter the
No.
round. It's a
Yeah.
crapshoot. You know, I mean, unless you're a surefire top, even though surefire top 3 or 4 don't always
No, that
make
doesn't
it.
yeah.
You know, so they definitely, in my eyes, are going to have to really get a good feel if he's signable or not, and you know, and then make a decision. You know.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate business side of baseball from that end, and they're you know, teams go through it every year. You know, teams go through it every year, so it's interesting. But I can tell you, Boston right now is taking a lot of heat in terms of yes, that one. They're taking a lot of heat in terms of there you go, in terms of the ownership and handling. This is, you know, the fans are upset. You know, you trade Boston, we're a major market team, you know, luxury tax, you know, we shouldn't be there. But, you know, you've only got so many resources, you know, and if when you have those resources, you got to make a decision. Marty Schingler, come on in, man. Come on in, Marty. Come on in. Let's talk. We'll talk Browns. Marty Schingler is a Browns expert. If we can get him to come on in, we'll talk Browns here real quick.
That's what I was going to bring up, your sort of thoughts on their situation.
Yeah, and that's really it. I mean, Boston is making a decision. Hey, long term, this isn't sustainable. You know, we've got to make some decisions based on that. So, Marty coming in, is he?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
see him walking over.
All right, come on, Marty, get in here. All right.
I can't come in on air.
Oh yeah, come on in, man.
We don't bite.
I just had to come by and say hi.
All right, well, get into that mic there real quick. We got Marty. Which one are you gonna give him here?
3.
All right. So we got Marty Schingler here, an instructor extraordinaire here at Lakeland. Marty, want to tell people real quick courses you teach, your area you're at, and I know it's kind of a little bit over the range there, but just talk to us about your program a little bit, or maybe something you'd like to share.
Well, I just got done with my Chem 1100 class.
Outstanding. How'd that go?
It's real well.
Didn't blow the school up or anything, so
No.
chemistry, that's good.
Well, that's because they're in lab right now.
No, they're in lab, so it's
I
coming.
got
The explosion's
lab's
coming.
lab.
All right.
It's a paper lab today. So
Okay. All right.
no,
Very
no
good.
explosions.
All right.
Well, you
very
got to
good.
keep Steve employed somehow.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But I'm also in charge of the manufacturing program here.
Right.
Lots of jobs in engineering technology that are going unfilled right now.
Okay.
People are coming to career services and they're like, you know, we need people and we don't have the people to fill the job.
So if I'm a student who's undecided about what I may want to do in my future, because we have a lot of students here that says, you know, I'm just not sure. I don't know. You know what I mean? What traits or characteristics might they want to have to make them think that this could be an option? Or how could they find out more information? Or who should they talk to find out more information about, the manufacturing field or that kind of thing? Who would they talk to?
Well, they can come to me. I work with Ken Sharkey and Nora G a lot in counseling also. So they are two who feed to me a lot.
Okay.
We have people in career services. I work with Marie Meeks a lot.
Okay.
Rhonda Butler's now our interim director of career services. She's been wonderful with me. Barb Freet's our dean. So those are all people who I've been working quite a bit with.
Okay.
In trying to work with our local community and to get people interested in that.
Okay. So what are again for our students who are just unsure? What are some characteristics perhaps? If I'm a student going, you know what, I like this, but I don't know what that means, or I don't really know. What are some things that maybe these people might have interests or skills in?
I think just being hands-on.
Okay.
A lot of that, being a lot of tinkering.
Okay.
Doing those types of things.
Okay.
Playing around, wrenching. If you like to wrench on.
So it's not necessarily computer work, that kind of thing, though there is computer work involved.
There's computer work.
Right.
I think anything that you do, there's computer work.
That's true.
Nowadays.
In my chemistry class, I was talking about laying problems out and being able to lay them out on a table, and I said, you're going to have to know how to do these things in Excel. You're going to have to know how to do Excel if you're an arts and humanities major.
True.
Anywhere you go in the business world, you're going to have to run into Excel and Office and those types of things.
True.
So you have to have a basic computer.
But with more hands-on, there's also, it's not strictly behind a desk type gig. You actually get to be physically involved. Right.
And
so if you're an active learner, this might be something to.
Visual learner is also a good one.
Okay. All right. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So I don't know if you're aware of Marty's background with the Browns and with sports in general, and you want to share a little bit about what you've been involved with, just general brief,
Oh, gosh. Well, ever since the Browns come back, I've been one of their employees on the official stat crew. So we take all the stats, we compile all the stats. The home team does the stats for NFL games.
So just
stats, everything.
Just so I can say on that. So since he's doing the stats, he's the one that always puts in the wrong score. Browns losing. He could adjust that to make it so they won just in the stats. Is that no, just kidding.
Except the visual proof of it.
No, that I can't do.
Right.
But I do have the leeway of things like was it a pass or a run, like a quarterback dropping back to pass. We have to make the decision, was that like a designated run, or was that supposed to be a drop back pass? And with these run pass option quarterbacks now,
right?
And the fantasy football players go nuts over that type of thing.
Sure,
like,
sure, that's big money.
If you
suddenly
see Lamar Jackson dropping back, and then he decides to run up.
Right.
We have to decide, was that a designed run or was that a pass? Because to the fantasy football people, they go nuts on that. The defense should have gotten a sack. Or no, we give him a rush for -2 yards, or is that a defensive sack? I mean, that's the whole type of thing that we have to decide.
So they do a lot of training for that? A lot of training, or is just your experience over the years?
Our experience. We have a stat manual that tells us what to do.
Okay.
And then we have a computer program. So there's seven of us, and then New York watches and makes comments, and they'll make corrections if necessary.
Very cool.
We mark down the tacklers. It goes into a computer system. There's 3 people doing data entry, 1 person calling the tackles, 1 person calling the offense. And so all of that gets computerized. And then once we push enter, it goes out to the World Wide Web, and then all the fantasy football things get updated, like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I know that one all too well. So I'm in like 3 different leagues.
So he's costing you money right now, or he's helping you. I don't know.
No, we're actually not. We don't actually pay for money.
Oh, okay.
Play for money.
Okay.
More bragging rights or all that other stuff.
So how many people are in a stat, when you're doing a game, how many people are in the Browns stat office or box or the area that you're in working on these things typically?
Well, we have 7 on our crew. So we have, like I said, we have 3 doing data entry, 1 guy calling defense, 1 guy calling offense. I float, so I make sure everything's going. I have a monitor where I could see everything that they're doing on data entry live, so I could catch errors. Or
you're almost auditing.
Yeah. So, and then I could also, like I could check all the replays. We get the replay like 7-second delay and a 10-second delay, and then we have a TiVo unit so I can go check on things. Or if there's some sort of quirk, I work in the background, and then we have another guy who just does everything manually and takes it all down manually. So yeah, there's 7 of us, and it works fairly well. We've been together for like 18, 19 years.
Right. So it's pretty much the same crew in general, year in, year out, game in, game out. So when the Browns are away, do you have the opportunity to ever travel, or do you ever have the opportunity to do other games just because you're off of a weekend, or how does that work?
No, the head of our stat crew actually does it for a living. He works for ESPN and travels and does all the college games.
Okay.
So once in a while, I'll help him out on a college game, a Kent game, or a Toledo game, or something like that. But he does like Indians broadcasts, and he does Cavs broadcasts. I mean, that's his job for a living.
Sure.
The other guys, they do some high school games on Friday nights, and
it's extra.
They're like into it.
Right.
But to me, it's I just do that. Of course, then I have my officiating that I do that. I'm a high school football and lacrosse official. So we all have our things that we do on the side.
Sure. So let me ask you this. Last year, Kent State took a lot of heat because they had a women's field hockey game going on. And the field hockey game was called because they stopped it, like I think when it was going into overtime.
Yeah.
Right? Because they had a football game. They had to have their fireworks and all that kind of stuff before the game and stuff. And so they took a lot of heat nationally and over their priorities and that kind of thing. I don't know if you are aware of the story or whatnot, but just hearing briefly what I described, do you have anything pop in your mind or thoughts on that at all? Or
no. I mean, you have to let the game go.
Right.
But MAC football.
And that's what they ran into is what do you do? Poor planning on someone's part for sure. Poor planning on someone's part. All right.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So Marty, as you may or may not know, is also a racquetball player. All right, he joins in our group on Thursdays. Thursday at 11, we got faculty, staff, open racquetball. Anyone interested to participate? And Marty's come in here in the last month or so. I mean, I know you played years ago, right?
Yeah.
But you've come back here in the last month or so. He's getting back at it, and it's
newly redesigned courts, by the way.
Yeah, they've been the walls are being repainted, sanded, repainted, and some lighting fixtures have been replaced, and you can actually now see a ball in there, and the ball takes a better bounce stuff. So it's actually been pretty nice. Yeah, so it's pretty good from that aspect. So we want to open it up to anyone else that's interested in playing. Joe Kilianchik is the one that kind of, I would say, kind of leads the charge in terms of organizing from that aspect, sending out emails, that kind of thing. But if you have interest in it, get a hold of Joe, Marty, or myself or something, and we'll get you down there and have a good time with it. So I think it's a lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
You'll get a good sweat in, and hopefully you stay healthy, so it's good.
Yeah, and we don't use all the courts.
Correct. So there's space. There's definitely space available from that aspect. So let's hit back with Browns. Well, Browns real quick. Typically it's a little early, but typically we'll make a guess on record for the coming year or anything like that. Now there's a lot of stuff going on with the Browns. They're looking at a lot of potential changes. There's a lot of questions on Baker Mayfield. Is he going to be the quarterback moving forward? Is he not going to be the quarterback? And I don't want to put you in a bad position because of your position. So maybe you can't even talk about it. I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot. But you also you might have some insight that we're not aware of too, or not thinking about from that perspective. So I guess I would open up to you. Do you have some general thoughts on the Browns or direction? Your thoughts on Mayfield or any and if you really want to get crazy, go ahead and make a prediction for next year in terms of record. Then we'll tie you to it forever on the
It's
tape.
a little
That's
early,
right.
though.
It is early.
So.
It is early. The way too early prediction. No, but any general thoughts on the Browns at all, or Mayfield, or the Myles Garrett situation, or anything? I mean, we can go all over this.
That'll be interesting to see how the Myles Garrett situation gets pushed. He's claiming, things were said, and Pittsburgh's saying, well, things weren't said, and someone's going to say, well, where's the tape?
Right.
So that I wonder just how that's going to get pushed, because that's a he said he-said situation there.
Right. And both, the NFL has been adamant saying there is no recording of it, as they're saying the mics are shut off once play starts, so there is literally nothing out there. No players on either team have come forward to support Garrett and saying, yeah, I heard it, or anything like that, which I don't know if that means anything or not, but it's just there. So I think the timing of the release of it makes me question if it happened or not. But you know what? He may have thought he heard it, or he may have heard it. I mean, who knows? You know what I mean?
Well, it's a lot that sort of goes on. Especially, it depends where that happened, whether it was back near the goal line. You have only 3 people back there.
Right.
Or was it, if it happened more up there with the group of
My
people?
understanding...
It's a lot of ifs in it.
My understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is it supposedly happened like when he was tackling him originally, is when Garrett's saying he heard it. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever know.
But still, you have to maintain control in that situation.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the other aspect of it. And it bothers me some in that if his response is, well, that's my reason for doing that. Okay, well, shoot, people could call you a name every day of the week. You can't just respond, in that way. And I think he knows that.
That sort of happened. The one person months prior to that came up when he was driving that punched him in the face in the car.
Right.
That could have been, hey, someone did that, then heard that, and it just turned that eruption.
It's really hard telling. And I don't think we'll ever know. Personally, I don't think we'll ever know. But
no. In a way that I could see that sort of understandable-ish, of you keep being that blunt end of the crappy stick.
I could see him responding and stuff, but I think, I think even he admits he went too far. You know what I mean? I can see I could see a response per se, but the response can't be what we got. And likewise, let's be honest. The Pittsburgh quarterback, continue to come at him. It's not like he's scot-free in this, in my outside eyes, who, of course, is, I'm not in the game, so, I'm just giving you my easy opinion to be an armchair quarterback, you know what I mean? Yeah. But at some point, if that were...
Both were wrong in the situation,
right,
necessarily.
But if you're... So you take it off the professional level, if you're a coach of any organization, youth organization, what have you, you'd be like, both of you are wrong. I don't care what was said. You both are wrong. Can't have it, and you'd respond that way. You know what I mean? And if that was your kid, you would discipline your child for responding that way. And no matter which side you're on, I think I think as a parent, you would discipline your child for getting involved with it, but for continuing it if you're the quarterback, and Mason Rudolph, if you're continuing it on there, and I would discipline my child if. Okay, he came at you, and your response is to hit him with a helmet. You would take care of that. I think, and so that's
but in
that's
this
what
day and age,
concerns
you never
me.
know, though.
Yeah, that's true. But that's what concerns me is the unevenness of everything, and the sensitivity of people, and how we react, and in my eyes, overreact to everything. Everything's got to be done now, and everything's got to be a big story. It's like just stop, relax.
You need to go back to the 90s way.
I'd say before that, but yeah, I think you're going in the right direction in that way for sure.
And then with 10 seconds, why was he in the game?
Right. It's there's a whole host of variables that are just crazy from that end. But yeah. So is Mayfield the guy then? Let's switch it up. Is he the guy?
We'll find out. I think he has this year to show it. If he doesn't,
for sure.
Then I think.
But what's your prediction, man? Is he or isn't he?
Well, he showed it last year or the year before. Something happened this year.
Right. So.
Well, their line sucked. To a point.
No, because a lot of the analytics showed that they gave him 3 seconds to throw it a lot of times.
Okay.
So.
Well, it was here and there. You had those different things.
So here's my question.
They were getting flat out beat off the line and that.
But he had a running back who came all those yards, so you can't gain all those yards with a line that sucks.
Right. Here's my question.
Well, because he was more going within. either the A or B gap necessarily than the outside runs.
All I know is from the outside looking in, and I'll be honest, I did not watch every Browns games. I couldn't. I just couldn't.
No, I feel that too.
But every time I felt like Mayfield went out of the pocket and went out, it was a disaster waiting to happen. I don't know if statistically that's proven. I'm just giving you my visual. I can't remember him ever going to the outside, running, and completing a quality pass or anything like that. It's usually it was thrown away. Interception or just oh my gosh type. At least what's stuck in my mind. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just giving
should have ran a little more than he did.
Well, that's what I'm wondering because
occasionally he held on to it a little too long.
Right, and that's outside perception. I just have a lot of visions of him just drifting out, and then you're at the sideline, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm just. Perception, but again, I'm not a quarterback guru. I'm just telling you what it appeared as though from the outside.
It depends on
you saw a lot more of it than I did. And I don't, again, I don't know if you can give thought, but it was really weird from that perspective in my eyes. I don't recall anything outside that was. Nothing stands out in my mind with that was a great player throw. But my question was going to be is okay, so he's getting his 3 seconds. Here's my question: were the receivers getting open in that 3 seconds? And I know you got to throw before they're open sometimes, but there was a lot of route issues. At least there appeared to be a lot of route issues with certain receivers. You know what I mean? So, as opposed to the previous year, where he was new, and so defenses hadn't prepared for him early on, but also the level of competition wasn't as high in those last 8 games of that season. But was he sharper with the routes from better? Did the receivers do a better job getting open? And was that an adjustment that other teams playing us made, perhaps?
I don't know. There were a couple of times where it looked like he threw to the wrong person. In a couple of there were a couple of situations where Beckham was open, and he threw it instead to Landry.
Yep.
At the end of games.
Yep.
I think there were 2 situations that stood out. There was one pass play, I forgot the exact person he threw it to. We got a touchdown on it, but when you look at it, it was I think it was Beckham was one receiver was wide open.
Okay.
So it's some of those.
So
vision moments,
either he wasn't seeing the field or he wasn't loving Beckham, you know what I mean? Or didn't anticipate where he was at. Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
Probably more lost sight. Or occasionally.
You would hope, because you got to believe he's played all those years through college, so you got to believe he can at least see the field.
Yeah.
Because he's made a career, at least in college, of scrambling and finding people in the thing. So it was an interesting year. My money on it is that he's going to bounce back. He's going to have a solid year. He's not going to be all world this year, but I bet that he's going to have a solid year, which is going to give people in Cleveland enough ownership to say, you know what, yeah, he can be a solid, good quarterback. I don't know if he'll ever be great, but he could be a solid quarterback. At least that's my thought process coming in, and I don't see him going the other way. I just don't. He's overcome too much in his life in terms of never being drafted, never being recruited.
The 1-2 variables that we'll see what happens with the 2 tackle spots of.
For sure.
What goes there?
That's always an aspect for sure.
Hopefully they don't decide to go sign another undrafted free agent to the line again. That didn't work out really well.
Yeah. I think it depends on the year and the person, but yeah, they had a tough year from that aspect. Now, there's some tackles that are available in the draft this year. But again, even with rookies, there's a learning curve.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but everyone's got to be a rookie at some point.
Yeah, but Robinson showed his worth when he went out.
Right.
When he was out, he showed how good he was compared to the replacements. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think he might be a little underrated at times.
Right.
It's just him being consistent, which we haven't seen that pitcher completely.
Right.
We've seen it more the year prior that he held it together for 8 games.
Yeah. My prediction is they're going to do it. This is the year. They're in the playoffs this year. I'm not saying Super Bowl. I'm not one of those guys.
I see no reason why they can't make the playoffs.
They're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I called it last year. I picked them at 9-7 this past year. I was disappointed at the reverse of that. But
so I thought he went 8-8.
I went 9-7.
Yeah.
Steve went 7-9. Did you go 8-8?
I think.
Yeah, they gave games away, man,
They
and
did.
it just
They did. They gave
Yeah.
away.
they easily could have been. They could have been 10-6.
They
You know,
Oh yeah, the
But-
Seahawks game that they just didn't finish it.
there was some funky things that happened. It always, but isn't that always the case though? In the Browns, something happens, man. But
Should
I
have
don't
won the
know.
Rams game.
Yep. But
It's almost like Michigan. They just give things away easily.
oh, here he goes. There he goes. I'm not a Michigan fan, but Steve Gagliardi is. He's our other host of this typically. So go from there. So we were talking Frankie Lindor a little earlier. You follow Indians baseball at all?
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about whether or not the Indians are going to re-sign him or not, how that fits into in their whole scheme, and essentially the thought process was, at least from my end, was they're gonna make an attempt. But they got to figure it out here whether or not he'll sign for what they're willing to offer within the next couple months, because otherwise they got to trade him. You know, it's to that point. And him saying, I'd like to stay in Cleveland, but I need a 10, 12-year contract or whatever. And okay, well, how much is that going to cost? What are the opt-out options and stuff? That's all got to be the key. But again, I think that's got to happen soon. Or I don't think the Tribe have a choice if it's not resolved by June. Beginning of July, I don't think the Indians have a choice at that point but to trade him. Unfortunately, I mean, so
Yeah.
It's
you
true.
know. But you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the analytics and you look at teams with high price position players, I don't really think they're carrying the teams and
Right.
really making it to the playoffs.
That's funny. I said that earlier. It's like, okay, he great player, but he's not a Mike Trout statistically. He's not a Mookie Betts statistically. So can you really afford to give someone?
But where was Mike Trout in the playoffs last year? Watching it on
True.
the couch with you and I.
Exactly, and that's the point. Is do you put that kind of money in if they're not able to make that? And that's my point with Lindor is I don't see him. I think he's a great player, but I don't think you can invest your whole nut into him. You, in my eyes, you can't. I think that's short-sighted. The fans would love it for sure, but I think it's short-sighted as an organization. So I mean, that's where I'm back to is all right. What's he willing to really do? You know what I mean? Is he willing to take what makes sense from an economic perspective? I mean, if he's not, then Indians' hands are tied. They got to do what they got to do. You know, I mean, like we were talking about Boston trading Betts earlier. I mean, that's really what it came down to. Here's the economics of it. If you're not going to sign with us, or if you're not sure, we can't afford to keep you for a draft pick. That just doesn't get it done. You know, so you make the decision and move on. And it is a business, unfortunately, and go from there. One thing we did not get into, which we were talking about earlier, is the whole Houston Astros scheme and how Manfred has responded. Manfred's taken a ton of heat right now for a lot of different reasons. I think some of it's warranted. I think some of it's not warranted personally. But Houston Astros obviously guilty of 2017 and at least part of 2018 of cheating. You know, I mean, call it what it is. They did. They don't seem to be real apologetic about it, you know, and I think that's rubbing a lot of players, I should say, and people in general the wrong way. They're thinking.
There's been some good memes though on Facebook.
there's
like Ricky Vaughn and that, going and how he's, throwing that baseball and that, at that dear, plywood person that they put the Astros thing in the head of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been interesting. So there's two different levels. Let's talk from the athletics perspective first, if we can. So if you're the Astros, do you need to apologize to people? I mean, as the player, I'm talking to players now. I mean, what really do you do about it at this point? I mean,
some of them, if you're smart necessarily, if you're not going to stay there in the long term, you sort of should, because that's just going to come back and bite you if you try to decide to leave. They're going to remember, hey, well, you were, in Houston, that you were part of that.
See, I don't think so. And here's
the way how you acted of it.
Right, but here's what I really think though is all the players are like, happened okay, Okay, but I think that if the players perform this year or next year or wherever, that whatever new city takes them in, as long as they're playing well, I don't think people are going to care about what happened 3 years ago in terms of that and whether you said yeah, because they're all saying yeah, it happened. All right, it's not up to them to get back a World Series trophy. It's not up to them to get fined. The commissioner made the deal with the players saying there'd be no repercussions. I mean, what do you want the players to do?
There's no need to apologize.
I thought someone necessarily.
Why apologize?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, it happened.
I thought one of them outspoken about that of so what and all that stuff.
Well, I mean,
I thought I seen something about that.
It's well, that's just it. Is even if he did, okay, it happened. Well, they've already decided they're not taking the trophy away. We're not getting fined. We're not getting penalized. Okay, it happened. What do you want me to do about it? It's over. Move on. I mean, if I'm a Houston Astro, I mean, what? Okay, I'm sorry. Does that make you feel better now? I said I'm sorry. Okay, good. Let's move on. I mean, it's over. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I don't.
In a way, but if that one person necessarily went out and made like a big mockery of it, I thought someone said that.
I'm trying to follow it. I know there was
of like, so what? It doesn't matter what about what we did in that.
It doesn't, does it?
A little of a way. It doesn't show that you're so you should just go. If you're going to go in that, hey, it happened, that, keep it at that. Instead of going this elongated, mumbo jumbo conversation.
I agree with you there.
And that if you're going to go make a spectacle of it, you should just either shut up or come out and say, hey, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. And be silent.
I agree. The shorter would have been better. And I agree. Something along the lines, yes, it happened. It wasn't great. Okay. You know what? We're going to learn from it and move forward.
It only matters if they're going up for a Hall of Fame vote.
Exactly right.
Oh, that's going to hurt.
Let's be honest. They've already got their bonuses. They've gotten their new contracts. You know what I mean? That stuff's it's happened. You know what I mean? And let's also be clear. This isn't the first time that this has happened. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest about this. I mean, there's been many times throughout history where teams have illegally tried to steal signs or what have you. I mean, this isn't, and I'm not talking about the guy standing at second base. I'm talking about, in history, this has gone on. So
you could go to Black Sox.
Well, yeah, but that was throwing games. That's a little bit different. But I'm talking about illegally stealing signs. I mean, Tony La Russa started it, or was one of the guys doing it back in, the 70s, mm-hmm. And he's a Hall of Famer, and he's been a manager forever. Heck, he's been in charge of baseball's discipline. You know what I mean? So it bothers me a little bit that we're looking at the Astros saying, "Oh my God, it's the worst thing that ever happened, and it's never happened before." Well, no, it has happened. It just hasn't been used to the similar technology because technology has changed. But what they've done is not new in terms of stealing signs in an illegal way.
Was part of the game, but using the technology the way they did is not.
Well, that's against the rules, right? But I'm saying, even what they were doing back then, they were reviewing TV monitors and stuff back then to do kind of stuff. I mean, this isn't a new thing. You know what I'm saying from that aspect. So, it bothers me a little bit that seems to be gone. Now I do wish the Astros were more contrite. You know what I mean? But on the same aspect as from Manfred's perspective, not taking away the World Series, this isn't the first time. They're not the only team that's been thought of and openly admitted to doing it. It's just that we're in a different world right now, and the two.
Oh, everyone's more sensitive,
right? And we're also because of the technology aspect, it's a little different. I mean, let's be honest. Technology is what's brought that game to the next level. That's they want technology, they want all that stuff. I mean, they want to have the technological umpires in the future. You know what I'm saying? I mean. So technology is as with it. So, but with technology, there are other issues, things to be thinking about, and this is just one that has come forward. You know what I mean? And they're also the ones that have gotten caught. You know what I mean? I mean, to think that that's not happening elsewhere, or to think that maybe not that particular thing, but to think there isn't cheating going on elsewhere, in some ways is naive, and it's hypocritical for some of the players to say, "Oh, I just think I don't buy it." I don't personally buy it.
Goes through all the sports, but it's kind of hard for all the governing bodies of all the different sports from either you go from high school on up and that try to govern, especially like you go like college football. Just think of how many divisions, how many freaking schools and that.
Well, and
one person
college football has been rampant with violations.
I know.
I mean, college basketball, rampant with violations. I mean, so it's now their solution in some cases has been to take back a Heisman, has been to, we're going to take that championship banner down. I mean, I don't know that solves anything either. You know what I mean? What does that do? I mean, the people who are supporters were there, they saw it, they know it. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I don't know that it really does anything personally. You know what I mean? I don't know how much it does, though I get it. I just don't know that it solves anything with it. But I think it does bode very well. Or going to we've had conversations in here before about, instant replay as an example. I mean, that's really what we're talking about is, the official made a mistake, so we're going to have an instant replay. Well, in this situation, the players made a mistake. Are we going to go back and correct it, afterwards? And I mean, it's not the same, but I mean, I'm trying to draw a comparison there. I'm opposed to instant replay. Just letting you know that I think that we should get rid of it. And the reason I feel that way is I think that it's human element is part of the game, and I still look at it as a game, even though I know it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that's really a show. You know what I mean? I still perceive it as a game from my perspective, and maybe that's my shortcoming. But there's mistakes made. Players make mistakes every day. So to get on an official because he made a mistake, okay, so if something's blatant, great. Move on, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it is what it is, but that's my naivety coming through on that perspective. How do you chime in there, Marty? I'm talking too much now.
On what? Instant replay or what?
Just in general, all of it. What's your thought process? We're over.
No.
We got a couple minutes. Short wrap up.
It'll be an interesting 2020 for the Browns.
Okay, all right, very good. Very good.
I will say this much about the Indians, though. They're doing some really aggressive marketing with ticket sales. I've never seen them market ticket sales like this before.
What stands out? What stands out to you?
I've had six-pack ticket plans in the past, but I've never seen them push their six-pack ticket plans like this before. Never seen them push them like this before. And then the other hot thing you haven't talked about in the Cleveland sports scene is what about John Beilein and his
be let go or going to be let go today, right?
Or he's resigning.
Yeah.
So
Stepping that.
6 coaches in 7 years for the team in that organization.
That's exactly right.
And how do you develop those kids?
Yeah, a lot of truth there. And
then what happens to their first female coach, and then is she going to stick around? Or
right.
She made all this stuff to uprooted her family to come here.
For sure.
She sticks around for, hopefully Lindsay, I think that's her name, right?
Right.
Hopefully she sticks around.
Yeah.
And doesn't get lost in the shuffle and booted out.
Well, new coach coming in, whoever that new coach is, will make that decision, in or out.
So they're talking about keeping Bickerstaff this year, maybe next year.
Right.
So there's a whole mess there.
For sure.
The Cleveland sports scene. So that's the big news today that hasn't even gotten touched on.
Right. So in general, what we're saying is Cleveland sports are a mess.
The Indians find a way to win that.
I like the Indians. I like the Indians.
They find a
I like
way.
Francona. I know he takes a lot of heat, but I like him. They do. And people complain about, they don't spend enough money. You know what? They're competitive year in, year out.
Yeah.
The Browns haven't been competitive. I can't remember the last time they were competitive. Right, the 80s, right? 90s? 90s was the last time they were competitive. But yeah.
Well, it was what?
They had one season when they made a playoff.
One season doesn't count.
Yeah, I
know.
I'm talking
That's
competitive.
relevant.
Yeah, so, and yet they're
Here
still...
and there they had those short, if they haven't been able to
right.
put it together.
But still well supported every year. The Indians are competitive year in year out, have been for the last several years, and yet they're at the bottom 5 in the league in attendance every year.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
it's the weekday April and May games that kill them.
Yeah, I also think in baseball, because there's so many games. I mean, 81. With football, there's 8 home games, so you make it. There's only 8. So you make it a priority, whereas in baseball, I mean, there's 81.
The Indians do well on weekends in the summer.
Correct.
But weekday during April and May when the weather's crappy, school, that's what kills them with the attendance is they just don't draw then. But once summer hits and kids are out of school, and then Friday nights are beautiful weather.
Yep. You got people there.
People go down. They get 25, 30 every game.
Yep. So what I've recommended in the past is that, especially with the new playoff system, I don't know if we've talked about this on the air yet or not, but with the playoff system is even though it's not going to lengthen the season theoretically if it goes through, but shorten the length of the season. And I know they're going to say, I got to have my 81 games for the money. Play doubleheaders. You know what I mean? Shorten the season by 3 weeks. Play some doubleheaders. You can bring an extra pitcher up at that line. You got an extra player this year anyway.
Was that last week or the week prior
that we talked about it?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we talked about it on there or not. I talked to different people. So I mean, that's my shorten the season. Take those games certainly out of March. You know what I mean? And take the first week or two out of April and the last week in September. Shorten it down. And guess what? Players can play doubleheaders. It is possible to play 2 innings in a game. If you're getting
it's called conditioning.
If you're getting $10 million a year, I think on a couple of days you can play a doubleheader once a week. I mean, I just believe that. I'm sorry. Yes, I know it's a long day for that particular day. I think you can survive, again, with an extra player in particular this year, and then doubleheaders bringing up another player. I mean, there's 2 additional players. I think you can handle it. Personal feeling on it.
And the Indians, even though their attendance is down, I think they're making good money, the district and all of that. They're getting people in who aren't even watching the game.
Right.
So there's 2,000 people in that corner bar area.
Exactly.
They're not even watching the game.
Right.
They're people who live down here.
Yep.
They go there and pay the $15 but get $5 off for their beer.
Right.
And they're just hanging there.
Yep.
And they're just yapping, and they don't even know the game's going on.
Right.
And it's a completely different, because I've had tickets out there sometimes, and it's a completely different atmosphere. And that's one of the best things the Indians have ever done.
I have yet to see a game out there before.
That whole area, it's completely filled, and it's great for a getaway game because the sun is like beating on you, and it's a great place to work on your tan. But that area, every game is filled. It's sold out almost every game, and all the young people who live downtown just go there.
Right.
And it's a place for them to hang out and party.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So even though that area might be low in attendance, when you look at concession stands coming out of that area,
right, it's still high. Well, the big money concessions part, but the big money obviously is the revenue distribution from the television nationally. I mean, they're getting millions a year on that. I mean, but that's a whole.
I think locally, the TV revenue, even though we have among the highest local viewership nationwide, I think our television locally, the money we get locally is among the lowest nationwide.
Right. I saw a report, though, the other day where they combined the local television with the national television money that they receive, and the Indians are actually, I think they're in the top 10.
Are they?
Like right around 10. They're not in the top 5, you know what I mean? But they're not like 18 either. Okay. I mean, they're
higher than
from a revenue perspective from television, they actually do well, which surprised me a little bit.
Viewership's so high.
That could be. That could be. So, I don't know. A lot of pieces to this puzzle. All right, we are over, so we got to wrap this up. But we want to thank everyone for listening today to the Scott and Steve Show. Marty, thank you for coming in. Jeremiah, as always, thank you. Reminder: Lakers are at Cuyahoga Community College tonight. 5:30 for the women at East, and 6:30 for the men at Metro. And this weekend, the men and women will play at 1 and 3. Game times are maybe adjusted. That'll be announced officially on Thursday. So check out the Lakeland website and the radio station site to confirm times to the games. Good luck to the Lakers, and everyone have a great day. Bye now.
It's Lake Effect.
Like us on